Hi there. If you'll pardon the wet, stringy hair, why is it I always seem to be recording when my hair is wet? I have a journal to read for you. I'm getting so many of them stacked up. I hope to get some of them online pretty soon. This one I discovered in the mix. I had written it and gotten distracted. This is from 9/20, and it never even got named. So I just put a name to it yesterday, and here goes. It's called Who Gets to Define Reality? Racetracks, Rabbits, and Mind. The last number of days have brought weakness of body. Now, I noticed today that I've been fighting it. Under such fight can usually be found fear. So, as I arise today, I come in with some memory of last night's blessings and lessons to notice the fear and stop fighting. Changes, endless changes. It seems there's no escape from them. And who would want to escape? Things being the mess they now are, change would seem to be a good thing, but not necessarily. The last administration came in on the promise of change. I'm not going political on you here, just noticing. So, endless change. It appears that's to be the theme ongoing for the end of this age as we transition into the next. For many, it's a wake-up call out of the stupor we've been programmed into, and that's great. Not comfortable necessarily, but great all the same. We're so tired of the way things have been. That is, unless you're the top 1% of the elite. And I don't know if you're tired or not. You don't commune with us much now, do you? So, most of those following my journals are more awake than the average already. We've been awakening for decades now, some of us, and it's getting nothing but more intense, when viewed from the 3D perspective at least. We're discovering we can take other perspectives on things more and more readily. We're stepping into and owning our other aspects of being, our other dimensional selves. It's one way of looking at it. Well, what now? That's what most of us are asking. What the heck to do now? Well, be in heart for it, or you won't like the answer. Now, we do nothing. We go within. We find stillness. We just be. The game, as it's been played up to now, is passé. It is finished. Now, I have to get used to my little touchpad. Got a new laptop, and we don't know one another that well yet. I push my finger up, and the page goes down. Go figure. Okay, so... I'm trying to learn to use it. Gosh, it's a little longer than I thought. Our other dimensional selves. Okay, the game as it's been played so far is finished. The playing field is morphing so fast we can hardly keep up. Well, stop running is my answer. Just go within and be still. And this proverbial stillness can be found in heart, at your core, at your center, within, whatever you want to call it. What does go within mean, some may ask? Well, as with everything, it'll mean different things to different people. Tune in to yourself. In this time of cycles closing, what once worked or seemed to work works no more. We can't go to others for our answers. What they offer isn't real until confirmed within your own self. Fear is the enemy here. For those who require an enemy to make sense of things, those still locked in duality. The whole concept of enemy itself is fading for many, as we find what we once thought was out there is right here within heart. Though each one makes her own journey, there are overall themes that we can see. One of these that I see is the fading of duality and its power to enthrall us. Each, in our own way, discovers how duality loses its power over him. We don't automatically polarize to one quote-unquote side or the other anymore, as was once the case. We're better at seeing from both sides. Not always, but sometimes. All war and fighting is based in a solid duality that refuses to compromise, that doesn't have heart or understanding for the other's perspective. Empathy, feelings, or compassion, these have been missing from the dualistic, paternalistic dance we've been engaged in for millennia now. Well, finally, that dance is ending. New partners and a whole new dance floor are appearing. Are you noticing? From what perspective do you view? What is your chosen angle for viewing the dance? Endless angles are available. Pick one. Or several. How many have you tried? Exercise your muscles of flexible perspective. And that brings healing, along with a good bit of chaos and upset, I admit. Waking up isn't a spectator sport. One must engage for it to be real, for it to happen within. Reading about Bob's or Jane's new experience is nice, but it won't do the trick for you. We're being changed from the inside. I believe, and there is evidence, our actual biology is being altered by the new solar and galactic energies we're engaging. They're all around us. There's simply no escaping these energies, nor would we want to if we just knew what they bring and portend. Our very DNA is changing, along with our concepts about DNA and almost everything else. Have you listened to Bruce Lipton on DNA? To Greg Braden, how it can be changed by thought, by prayer, by emotion? It's not locked in like Mammy and Pappy believed it was. There's a certain barrier to awakening that some are encountering now. To wake up is to open one's eyes. Well, to truly open our eyes in this age is to be shocked, is to be stunned, is to be sickened by the sea of lies we're immersed in. It boggles both mind and imagination that such a false reality could even exist, much less have been our accepted norm for so long. Well, ego doesn't want to face or to admit this. Ego wants always to be right, to be righteous. Well, when the whole playing field itself is littered, is covered with, is even constructed of lies, where is the win in this? What is right? Well, if that isn't sufficient challenge, along comes someone to tell you that even the concept of right or right and wrong isn't right, that it no longer applies. At this point, mind either takes a hike into some fantasy world or the fantasy world of the past, or engages, even rages against such a concept. No right and wrong, it just seems too much. Well, we've all been there, or most of us, maybe. Things get so crazy, we can hardly keep up. And then they amp up even more. It's gotten ridiculous, hasn't it? Don't you just laugh sometimes? Oh, there I go again. Finger goes one way and page goes the other way. Okay, so, well, welcome to the world that is mind. That is how mind sees and perceives what's going on. Mind can't seem to get a grip and keep it for long. Now, I acknowledge that perspective. It's quite real. Been there myself. I know the crazy feelings that can arise. It's really frightening sometimes, isn't it? To so lose our grip that we wouldn't be surprised to see Alice in the crazy wonderland we seem to inhabit lately. Oh dear, and there's the doorbell. Be back. Okay, so I had a guest for a little while, and I'm back. And since it's later, and the sun has well set, there's no chance of rainbows, I came back to the smaller screen. It's interesting that he came between one section and another in my journal. Sometimes in the written journal, I'll label the sections. And so the last one, well, I mean, I've been away a while, you haven't. So I said we wouldn't be surprised to see Alice in our crazy wonderland. We feel sometimes like we're so losing our grip. So this section, which way to turn? Okay, that being the case, what then is right? Which way to turn? What to do? Well, get back into heart, first of all. Let's start there, and let's stay there. If you want a magical kingdom where everything is right and perfect, where love rules, go within. And then just be still and observe for a bit. Quit acting. Quit doing. Quit thinking all the time. Just watch and observe. Observe those thoughts as they pass by. You see, mind isn't wrong in its perceptions. Things really are crazy like that. Not always, but they do get that way. And to mind, that's no joke. What I'm saying, though, is to just set mind aside for a few moments here. Enter heart. Center in your chest, that's all. No big deal. Nothing fancy or difficult. Just get your focus of attention out of the head. I don't care if you put it in your left foot, just get it out of the head. Now, you may notice that heart holds a different perspective, quite, than mine does. Notice that now. Push pause or stop reading. Just take a moment and notice. Things somehow seem different from heart. Are you noticing? Come on. If you want to take the rest of the journey, you've got to disengage from the mechanical mind, trapped in time, ever wanting to forge ahead, to push on. You'll know when you're in heart because there's none of that pushing there. All is just calm, peaceful, no rush at all. Now, if you were hooked up to various monitors, they would detect numerous differences when you made the head to heart or head to body shift. Galvanic skin response, heart rate and rhythm, brain waves, so many things shift with this shift in perspective, as you can see, as you can sense, it's so much more than that. I would be so happy if people could just get the sense of this difference and begin to notice in themselves when they shift. This much self-knowledge alone is a powerful thing. It's an open doorway, a portal into a truly, honestly magical kingdom, the kingdom of heart. Now, I don't mean this literally. The mind takes things literally. Do keep dropping into heart. Mind is not wrong. It's just like the dogs racing, chasing the mechanical rabbit. It can't possibly win. The dog that wins in the end, well, that dog didn't get to define what win means, did it? No, the breeders, the owners did that. Or the dog would be chomping that rabbit to bits. To her, that is a win. It is just flipping obvious to all but the stupid humans running the racetrack. Do you see? And that's not pejorative. That's just from the dog's perspective. The mind, the human mind, is in the position of that racing dog. It's in a race that it can't possibly win on its own terms, terms that make any sense to it. What the humans have defined as a win is irrelevant to the dog. Oh, sure, they like the attention, the special treats and treatment they receive to play along, to run faster. No doubt about that. That still doesn't mean it makes good sense to the dog. It's just playing along. Well, see that dog as your mind. You see the racetrack and the mechanical rabbit the dogs pursue as the reality laid out for us, for the mind. Mind is allowing someone else to define victory for it, but not in terms that make sense to it. It makes sense to those who laid out the racetrack, who are in control of things in the society, but not to mind. Mind is game, though. It plays along. But somehow it never quite connects. It's never satisfied. Yet seeking satisfaction is all it can do. That's how the reality is laid out. As long as mind plays on this lateral field where everything remains horizontal on a flat plane, mind will never achieve satisfaction. It's not built into that game. There's no getting around that. Fight as mind may. Now, the journal ended there. So it ended there. Do I have anything else to say here? What's my title? Who gets to define reality? Well, you know, it's a perspective game. So much. In a way, everything depends on our perspective. And we can take different perspectives on the 3D field, on the flat plane. You and the one you're having a discussion with, you can do what you can to take that person's perspective, to try to understand. A debate team, when you're debating in school, you'll always be required to take both sides of an issue. You need to have a flexible perspective to be an effective debater. The way you take the other guy's argument down is by knowing it, not by being ignorant of it and just knowing your own. So there are, there are an infinite number of perspectives available just staying on the lateral plane. And that's good. We'd have far less arguments and wars if we would bother to do that, if we would make an effort, if it was held up as something admirable to the society, to have flexible perspective and to come together in groups and come to understanding, and quit throwing rocks and stones, sticks and words around at one another, to come together as friends and as family instead of enemies. That would go a long way. That would be very powerful. But what I'm speaking of is even more, to take it the next step. And you go where it feels right to you with this. But I'm saying go beyond 3D. To go beyond 3D is even more fun, is even better. This is where you leave mind behind, the 3D mind that is stuck to the lateral plane. Mind exists on the higher dimensions, only it's different. It's not in duality. It's not locked into duality. It doesn't feel it has to polarize. I've discovered, at least in the next dimension up, that there's still a duality. It's just that you occupy both sides of it. And there's no problem with that. Even though they're seeming opposites, they're not. They're just polarities of the same thing. If we look, as a for instance, even though I'll have a limited audience, if we look at astrology, you have the 12 houses and the 12 signs. Well, I suggest you have 6. Because what you have is the first house is in polarity with the 6th. The third sign is in polarity with the 9th. And so you have the perfection of the figure 8. So instead of going head to head, what you have is the opportunity for balance, to find balance in the middle. We've been taught in Western society that there's a good and a bad, a good and an evil, and you have to be good. And you're supposed to be 100% good, and if there's anything wrong with you, if you sin, that's a terrible thing, and there's a price to pay for that, yada, yada, yada. I suggest that's very 3D, and that we grow beyond that, because when looked at from the higher perspective, it just doesn't look like that. There's not a soul walking on the earth that doesn't have a good side and a bad side, a plus side and a minus side. You don't have electricity unless you have the polarities, and you need them both. They work together. Okay, I think that sums up my suggestion. Have a good day. See you again soon. Very soon. I have lots of journals to record. Bye-bye.